From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Heads Meats and Grocery is much more than a grocery store. We carry a full line of quality meats, local and organic vegetables, and a large variety of fish, Green Mountain Smart Control pellet grills, and a full deli case of sandwiches and side dishes.
Well, Friday is finally here, and so is that rain I've been talking about pretty much all week long. You got that band of rain that has been approaching all night and has made its way here early this morning for the North Coast. As I'm recording this just shortly after 5 o'clock this morning, you can see it has hit pretty much everyone along the coast here with a heavier rainfall just north of Eureka, but there are going to be pockets and periods of heavy rainfall through the morning for pretty much everyone. There's also going to be some lightning strikes embedded in with there, and all of this is just going to be pushing eastward throughout the day, and everyone will eventually see some rain. It just depends on where you are on that timing. So cooler and unsettled pattern has arrived. The first storm pushes through today and tonight, mainly dry but cool over the weekend, and then cool and unsettled as we take it through next week. But at this point, it's looking like most of the rain next week will be on Monday and then maybe again on Tuesday, depending on where you are. Not much coming in after that. We'll get into that in the deeper dive here in just a bit. But first, here's your Krueger's Quickcast for your Friday, October 10th. Yes, it is Friday, and you're starting off the day, getting off to work or getting the kiddos off to school. Dry for the valley, but I think Trinity County, you're seeing some showers, maybe some thunderstorms for the coast, and even some rain, especially for central and western Siskiyou County at 8 o'clock this morning. But Modoc County, Eastern Mountains, as well as the Valley, you're all dry this morning, but that's going to be changing later today. So there's the swirling area of low pressure, the rain that's associated with it. All of this is going to be progressing eastward throughout the day today. And looking at Futurecast, there's 6 o'clock this morning. Here we are at around 10 o'clock this morning. Now it's really for the coast, Trinity County, central and western Siskiyou County, but dry for everyone else. Then you can see as we go into around the midday hour, early afternoon, now it's the north end of the valley. Red Bluff, Redding, all seeing that potential for showers, but the heavier rainfall still off to the north and west. But notice the coast. You are beginning to see things begin to quiet down a little bit here. Still some scattered showers and possible thunderstorms, but by this late afternoon, evening, you're going to start to dry things out. Now, you see Chico, Willows, Oroville, you're still mainly dry. Now, you could see a stray shower developing through the afternoon, but it's really not until later in the day that you're seeing that and even into this evening. Now, by tonight, Modoc County, Eastern Mountains, you're all beginning to see some of that rain as well. And then once this pushes through, fairly dry for the weekend, which we'll get into that a little bit later. So most of the thunderstorms are expected to be west of the valley. However, if you see any thunderstorms in Siskiyou County, really anywhere else as the storm system passes through, don't be surprised. But I think most of the dynamics and the strongest dynamics will be this morning and through the morning hours. All right, there's your 7-day outlook. Dry for the weekend in the valley, and those showers coming in on Monday. Now notice Tuesday. I've got the chance for showers for you in Chico, but not Redding or Red Bluff. That's because I think we could see some showers to the south. That may linger into Wednesday for you, Chico, on Wednesday, but otherwise dry for the rest of us. Showers and thunderstorms, especially this morning and through midday, and then maybe a chance for a stray shower here and there Saturday, but otherwise fairly dry for the weekend. Another shot at some rain on Monday. And for Siskiyou, Modoc County, and the Eastern Mountains. Now for Modoc County and the Eastern Mountains, you're going to wait until tonight before you see that rain. And then a chance for places like Siskiyou and Modoc counties for a stray shower through the day on Saturday, but dry for everyone else. And then there you can see Sunday dry, and then more wet weather. By the way, snow levels may not be as low as we initially thought with this approaching storm system coming in early next week, but we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail a little bit later. All right, let's go and take a look at our deeper dive forecast. This is when we really get into it and get you all the detail that you know and love that we get here at Weather NorCal. So, of course, it's Friday, October 10th. Let's get you right to it, and we're going to start off with our satellite image here. I'm advancing the map here. There it is. Now, I've included the surface image or the surface analysis here. So you see an area of low pressure. What's this? This is what we call a trough, right? It's not quite a cold front, but for all intents and purposes, we could really call this a cold front. It's along that boundary where we see the most dynamics, right? The heaviest rainfall, the gusty winds, the thunderstorms, the works. And as we typically see with these types of storms, even in the winter, is as they move over the coastal range, the Trinity Alps, the Marble Mountains, it begins to break apart and it's not as strong as it moves eastward. So we lose some of those dynamics And so typically you can see those thunderstorms before it hits the valley, and then it loses some of its dynamics and the chances for thunderstorms begin to diminish a little bit here. So certainly something worth watching here, but we still could see an isolated thunderstorm in the valley, in the mountains, right? So let's take a look at Futurecast. 6 o'clock this morning, there it is. The main line is basically in Del Norte, Humboldt counties, mainly dry for everyone else. There may be a few stray showers off to the east, but don't count on much there. Then by about 10 o'clock this morning, it's mainly in central western Siskiyou County, all through Trinity County, and the North Coast still seeing it as well at 10 o'clock this morning, but dry for everyone else. Now we take it around midday, right? Look at, now we're at the back edge. The back edge is actually right about here. So the North Coast, you're seeing less in the way of those showers, but still, even around midday, you're seeing that chance for thunderstorms. All of Siskiyou, all of Trinity, and we're beginning to see, I would say, the north end of the valley may see a few sprinkles and light showers, but it's really not until around the early afternoon at Redding, Red Bluff, Corning, you may start to see some activity here. Now, it's working its way into the mountains of Shasta County, but still, Modoc and even Lassen and Plumas counties, you're still fairly dry at this point. Then we take you into about 6 o'clock this evening. All right, now Modoc County is getting in on this. There may be a few stray sprinkles for, say, Lassen and Plumas counties, but still fairly dry. And look at this, still not a lot of activity, although you may start to see some of the showers developing by 6 o'clock this evening in Chico, but by tonight, we're getting on the back edge of that, and you got those showers in there, and then off to the east. Now it's the eastern mountains. That's really the headline here for the heavier showers. Dry for the valley. And again, what we're seeing here in the wake of this storm is a little bit of instability. In some areas could still see a few stray sprinkles tonight and tomorrow. There's midnight tonight. There's the snow, by the way. Now, you'll notice as we take a look at the highway here, we're getting close to seeing at least a mix up there. But at this point, I'm not anticipating any major issues with travel. However, Cedar Pass, be on the lookout for that tonight and early tomorrow morning. But otherwise, if it does stick, it won't last for very long, because as we go through the day on Saturday, it'll melt off pretty quickly. And of course, Caltrans will do a great job keeping that clear as well, should we see any amount, even light accumulation. So Saturday morning, see how it's fairly dry, but we still have enough instability that we could see a stray shower for parts of the North Coast, Siskiyou and Modoc counties. But I think everyone else will be dry throughout the day on Saturday, and anything we do see for the other areas that see chances for showers, it won't last for very long. It'll be few and far between. Sunday, it's dry across the board, more sunshine. Absolutely gorgeous weekend in store for us. All right, let's go and take a look at some of those rainfall totals. And I think it is underdoing it for the coast. Now you can see about 1.5 inches, close to 1.5 inches in Hoopa. That's about what we're seeing. I'd say about 1 inch for parts of the North Coast. Typical footprint, right? We're seeing the heavier rainfall here. Now sometimes as that front kind of pushes on up, it can kind of help create some extra lift moving up those mountains east of the valley. So sometimes you see a bigger footprint there. But look at the valley. I mean, just most likely not seeing a ton of rainfall out of this, or even off into the eastern mountains. I'm going to show you another forecast model. This one's a little bit more aggressive with some of those rainfall totals, although not as aggressive for places like Redding, for example, but it's getting a little bit more aggressive, at least for the North Coast. So yes, 1/2 inch to 1 inch, maybe a little over 1 inch for some of you along the coast and even some of those inland areas. But again, that typical footprint, heaviest rainfall here. And then again, we see a little bit amplification here as it moves up those mountains, creates that extra lift that you need for that rain. And that's where you're going to see some of that heavier rainfall in some of those foothills close to the eastern mountains. All right, snow. All right, we're going to put this in here. This is kind of interesting. So we take a look at through Sunday, and really most of the snow that we do see is going to be today, tonight, and early tomorrow morning. Then, of course, not much going on after that. So this takes you through Sunday, but keep in mind, we're really looking at the rain and snow that moves through tonight and tomorrow morning. So you can see the pinks here indicating over 1 foot of snow. So some of the highest elevations of Mount Shasta, Trinity Alps, yeah, you're seeing about 1 foot of snow or more. And, you know, we're getting up to that 4-inch mark here for parts of the Warner Mountains and even some of the eastern mountains, seeing some of that as well. So you can see that mountain pass right here. It's getting close, but let's take a look at some kind of close-up areas here. And we're going to take a look at Scott Mountain Pass at about 5,450 feet. The snow is on either side of it, so I don't anticipate any travel concerns there. Let's take a look at the Mount Shasta Ski Park here. All right, so there's the lower part of the park, probably not seeing snow. Maybe the upper parts of the park could see minor accumulation, but I wouldn't anticipate much. And there's a look at Cedar Pass, 6,100 feet on Highway 299 there. All right, yeah. So as we go into late tonight, early Saturday morning, you may see some snow on the pass there. Could that create delays? Listen, just be aware of that. Be aware of the fact that you may run into some snow early tomorrow morning or late tonight, depending on when you'd be traveling on it, all right? So here's the big picture. This is the area of low pressure I've been talking about. It's moving eastward, and then by Saturday, just enough instability here that we may see a stray shower for the northern mountains here throughout the day on Saturday and even parts of the north coast. Sunday, we are dry, but there's that colder storm system coming down. Now, this storm system is cold. But here's the thing. What's going to really moderate some of that colder air and make it not as cold, right? And it sounds kind of weird, but we've got this flow around this area of low pressure. What happens is that air is coming up from here, from the southwest, and it's beginning to moderate. We've got warmer air to the south and west, right? So as it rotates around the area of low pressure, the air is not as cold, and that's why snow levels will be much colder up to the north over the Pacific Northwest, because you got a colder source of air there. This colder air is beginning to moderate by the time it makes its way over us, especially since we got more of that southwesterly flow of winds. It tends to not be as cold, so as a result, snow levels not quite as low. But then you can see as it dives down to the south, this is what I was talking about on Tuesday. This is to our south. You see Chico seeing a chance for showers, but to the north of that, the chances are going to be a bit slimmer. And then we take you into Wednesday, Thursday. Still, we got this area of low pressure right here, and then it kind of wobbles, and we see it kind of hang out throughout the day, throughout the week. That's why we're still looking at cool and unsettled weather pattern for next week. But really, once we get past Monday and Tuesday, the chances for rain are going to be a bit slimmer. Let's take a look at some of those forecast snow totals. We're going to take a look at really the state of California. You can see not much here in the North State. But then as we go into Monday, Tuesday, this is when it really starts to kind of fill up. Now we're talking over a foot of snow for some of the higher passes, higher mountains in the Sierra here. I mean, above 7,000 feet where you're seeing that heaviest amount of snow. But just be aware that Monday, Tuesday, you could run into some problems if you're going to be going over some of those mountain passes south of Lake Tahoe. I mean, here's Lake Tahoe, right? So you're not seeing as much snow in that general area, but to the south of that, you start seeing the better chances of some of that heavier snow. So it looks like the heavy snow is being pushed a little bit more down to our south. So if you are traveling to Reno, for example, I think you'll be okay. You may run into a few issues, as I mentioned, as we go into Monday night, Tuesday, and even tonight and tomorrow morning. But overall, nothing major, nothing to be terribly concerned about. It's that time of the year. Maybe start thinking about packing the chains, getting them ready, getting yourself ready for that winter weather. I know it may feel early, but this is an early storm system coming in, and it's just that reminder that maybe it's time to start thinking about just having it ready to go for the season. All right, so take a look at the cooler temperatures that we do have in store for us over the next 10 days. Temperatures staying below normal. Normal high is about 83 degrees for this time of the year. We're going to be well below that over the next 10 days, looking absolutely gorgeous temperature-wise, right? Taking a look at those lake levels, no big surprises here. We're just seeing your typical drops here. No major drop in those lake levels. Still above where we should be for this time of the year when we're talking about that historical average. Now, the wave heights, I don't expect them to change much here for today or tomorrow for that matter. So no small craft advisories, but again, keep in mind we do have that coastal flood advisory. We are still looking at that moon pretty close to the earth and is creating quite a pull. It's that gravity where it pulls that and we get a pretty impressive high tide, which will be over, I believe it's close to over 7 feet. So some of the low-lying areas along the coast could be looking at some flooding, especially this afternoon. So if you're out and about along the coast, you know where those areas are. Be aware that you may run into some flooding in some of those typical areas. Here's a marine forecast for your Friday. South winds at 10 to 15 knots. Your waves are going to be from the south 4 feet at about 5 seconds. And there you can see also from the northwest at 5 feet at about 10 seconds. All right, here is your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. Starting off with Trinity County. There you go. We got temperatures upper 50s. Thunderstorms today, mainly dry for the weekend, and then more showers coming in by early next week. Your Dignity Health North Coast neighborhood forecast. Rain and thunderstorms this morning and even into the afternoon hours. A slight chance for a stray shower on Saturday, but don't count on much, if anything, really. And then Sunday, you're dry. Maybe another round of some showers here come Monday of next week. That's also the case for the inland areas as well. We do dry it out, though, for Sunday, and then we're looking at those showers coming in on Monday. Your Dignity Health Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures mainly in the 50s. Yeah, 50s for your daytime highs. Maybe a chance for a stray shower for everyone throughout the day on Saturday, but today's the bigger event with showers, possible thunderstorms. For Modoc County, you're dry through a good portion of the day, late afternoon, early evening. You do start to see some of those showers, maybe a chance for a stray shower on Saturday, and then maybe another chance for rain by next Monday. For the Eastern Mountains, you're dry all day long, but by this evening and tonight, you're starting to see some of those showers, maybe some thunderstorms as well. Dry for the weekend, and then more wet weather. I've got your snow levels mainly 6,000 feet and higher. Could be locally lower at times, but certainly something worth watching if you are going to be traveling in the Eastern Mountains. Not a major concern. If you are going to be traveling, I don't anticipate any road condition issues, but it's one of those things you may just want to watch it just to be on the safe side. Here's a look at your Dignity Health Valley neighborhood forecast to the south. Temperatures around 70 for that daytime high. Dry for the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, Chico and Oroville. You've got a chance for showers including Tuesday. Maybe even a lingering chance on Wednesday, and then there you can see on Thursday should be drying out. Now we take a look at that 7-day forecast for Chico. As I mentioned, dry for the weekend. Chico, you're going to have to wait until late afternoon before you really start seeing any rain. This evening, maybe some heavier showers coming in. And then you're dry for the weekend. More showers Monday, possible showers Tuesday, and maybe that lingering chance on Wednesday. All right, now let's take a look at the Valley neighborhood forecast to the north. 68 degrees for Redding, 67 for Redding, 68 for Anderson, and 69 for that daytime high in Red Bluff. All right, let's take a look at that 7-day forecast for Redding, though. Here's where things get a little bit more interesting because remember, of course, we got the chance for showers on Monday, showers and possible even thunderstorms here through the afternoon in Redding today. The weekend, you're dry, and then you can see that rain on Monday. Tuesday, dry for Redding. Wednesday, dry for Redding. Remember Chico, south end of the valley, Chico, Oroville. You could see showers on Tuesday and possibly Wednesday, but everyone should be dry by Thursday. And temperatures are going to be cool too. Low to mid 60s for Monday, Tuesday. Slightly warming up, but still not that bad in the upper 60s for Wednesday and Thursday. That is your morning update. I'll be back again at noon for the latest check of your weather. Until then, have a great morning.
Construction season is well underway in the North State, and we'd like to remind drivers to slow down around work zones. Keep Caltrans workers safe when they're on the job, and remember to be work zone alert when you see the color orange. Remember to pay attention to signs, merge early, avoid distractions, and don't speed. This message is brought to you by Caltrans District 2.